Game Changer Live. Welcome. Uh, Game Changer is brought to you by connorscoaching.com. And if you like what we bring, I encourage you to log into YouTube, subscribe to our content, and like this video, and leave a comment after we're done to tell us what inspired you the most today. I created Game Changer to talk about positivity and coaching and personal development and all sorts of things to help me find my voice and to share it with the world. And my goal is to inspire my audience, my community, and to build a community of supporting people. I feel like I'm on my way to doing that, and I'm really excited to be here. We're live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and guests join us on the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month to talk about their passions and their shine their light on the world so that we can all be inspired. We are live and we want to bring you the most authentic version of ourselves as possible. So this is unedited content. You get what you see. Um, so let's get inspired today and let's talk about motivation, self motivation. My name is Daniel Connor, and I am a certified professional coach, and I'm also the owner of Connor's Coaching. Stuck individuals on the brink of major change hire us to help them redesign their life, find direction, plan their future, and start living in the present so that every day that they can look in the mirror and see the best version of themselves reflected back at them. So everyone gets to a point where there's something in their life they don't want to do. Um, you know, this channel is a good example of that. A lot of people hear that I'm doing this, and especially newer people who haven't really envisioned themselves doing something like this, and they feel amazed. They say things like, how do you do that? How do you push past that? And the thing is that it's not easy. And if I didn't force myself past those emotions of fear, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't do it live so that you can see me in unedited glory. And it wouldn't happen. I would have put too many roadblocks up to doing it. To, to us, vulnerability and failure and embarrassment and judgment, those prevent us from moving forward on the things that truly matter to us. So if that's all true, how? How did I even start this channel? How do I do anything that I'm afraid of or feel strongly about? Well, this is a very familiar channel for me, um, challenge for me. So it starts with my brain saying, I want to do this. And there's a little voice inside of me that says, no, no way, we're not doing that. But I really want to. Oh, then maybe you should just change what you want. That's a lot easier. Now, here's the critical step, and this is the step that I was missing a lot of my life. I get off that ride because that's a loop. And over time, it does wear down your dreams. It lessens what you want out of life and it lessens what you can get out of life. So, what I say at that point is, that's nice, do it anyway. Cash in my ticket and get on the ride. So, yeah, it can feel impossible. That's the little voice in your head. And that fear comes from your limbic brain. So think about this as you're living in a cave and you have a campfire, and the cave is nice and warm and light and bright, and you have everything you need to survive, but you're not happy. You know out there in the darkness, happiness exists. But what else could be lurking in that darkness? Your brain comes up with possible stories of all of the different things that could be out in that darkness. It fills the night with monsters that don't actually exist and have no real teeth. You are perfectly capable at any time of stepping out of that cave and going out and wandering in the darkness and facing those fears. But we usually don't. We're really good at listening to the stories that that part of our brain tells us. That's the limbic side of our brain, or the mammalian cortex. I think I've heard it called before. It's the very center of your brain. It's the hypothalamus. It's where all the central information of your brain goes through, and it is connected to other parts of your brain. So it can leverage different parts. And I don't know that this is true because I'm not a scientist. I haven't studied this, but I've heard that your brain actually concentrates blood during periods of limbic stress. So if you're feeling fear, the brain is going to put more of its energy, more of its focus, and more of its protection on that mammalian brain for survival, and it's going to lessen the amount of effort that the rest of your brain has. Whether or not that's true, that's important, but your prefrontal cortex, completely separate part of your brain, the most developed part for human beings, is the part of your brain where logic and reason live. That's one of the parts of your brain potentially affected by that shift of focus. That means is that your limbic brain isn't using your full brain. It's only using the convenient parts. Your ability to imagine, and your ability to feel feelings, and your ability to act. It's also in control of your breathing functions and your heartbeat and all of that kind of thing. So, when we're in that emotional stage, we oftentimes feel like we can't act because our conscious brain, the part of our brain that's able to reason and logic out and think through things and make dreams and desires real, is completely overrun by these emotions. Your brain is literally shutting itself off. And the way to turn it back on is to engage that higher function. And you can do that a number of different ways, but you can actually just tell yourself, that's nice, do it anyway. Or ask questions. Questions are a really great way to turn on your prefrontal cortex because questions make your limbic brain panic because it can't do anything about those. It's not logical. It can't answer logical questions like, what do I really want? Well, your limbic brain can't tell you what you really want. That's your reason. Then your limbic brain makes it reality when those two things are in the line. And really, when we're looking at this motivational factor where you want something, but your brain is sending you signals that you can't do it, that's a misalignment between your subconscious and your conscious, or your limbic brain and your prefrontal cortex brain. However you want to look at it, you're just not, you're two pieces that aren't matching up. Your puzzle pieces in the wrong spot because your values aren't being challenged, because it's not fitting with what you want and who you see yourself as. And there are all sorts of things that are in our best interest to do. And it can be any emotion. It doesn't have to be fear, because the limbic part of your brain uses different emotions to provoke different responses to protect you. So some of the emotions you might feel: stubbornness, grief, even some fun emotions, manic emotions, anger, happiness, extreme excitement, joy, the desire to be entertained. Those can be ways to prevent yourself from doing something that's truly in your best interest. And listening to that isn't always in our best interest. It's not always in our healthy interest. If I listened to that part of my brain, I would have died from diabetes by now. That part of my brain is not in control of my eating behaviors. So let's take washing the dishes, for example. Now, my mom is probably going to see this, so she'll probably get a chuckle out of this. But when I was a little boy, I hated doing the dishes. I've always hated doing the dishes. It's never changed. And when I was a little boy, she used to bribe me to do my homework or to practice the piano so that I didn't have to do the dishes. So she was like, you could do the dishes or you could do this other thing you don't want to do. And I always chose the other thing because I hate doing dishes that much. And I hated doing homework too. But I'd rather do homework than dishes. And yet, I love having a clean kitchen to cook in. I hate disorder. I hate disorganization. I hate feeling like I'm going to give myself and my family food poisoning when I'm cooking in a kitchen. I just can't do it. So those two things are at war, right? I hate doing dishes, but I hate having a dirty kitchen. Cleaning the kitchen is in my best interest. So I force myself to clean the kitchen. I do this regularly, and there are things in your life where you do this regularly, where you do something you don't want to do. You go to work when you don't really want to go to work, go to school when you don't really want to go to school. You do your homework when you really don't want to do your homework. And that is in your best interest. Well, there are other things in your life where you can push through and apply that same logic and tell your brain, that's nice, I'm going to do it anyway. So, over time, by regularly doing these things, you challenge your emotional side to become more in line with your conscious side. Your emotional side is just doing what it thinks is your natural, normal behavior. And if your natural, normal behavior includes challenging it to do the things that take care of you and show value for yourself, it will fall in line. I no longer dread doing the dishes. Still not my favorite thing to do. I still can think of 100 different things that I would rather do. But when I'm done cleaning the kitchen, I am filled with a tremendous amount of satisfaction for having done that work. Don't get ideas, Mom. But thank you. So it's that ability to override the emotional impact and do the action anyway that separates us from our basal instincts. So, here's an activity. If you're really struggling with something, and this isn't like an everyday thing, like I have to do the dishes and I don't want to. This is an activity for like you want to start something big that you don't want to do. Like, I'm gonna be doing the same thing for TikTok because I want to have a TikTok channel as well as my YouTube channel. And I have a lot of fear being an older person, learning a new platform, and figuring it all out. Um, but those fears don't get to control me anymore. So we're going to start with exploring, recognizing and exploring. So, first, we're going to name out the action that we want to do, and we're going to list all of the emotions involved. Just blah on a paper: anger, frustration, sadness, worry, fear, judgment, um, weakness. I don't care what it is, how you want to word those emotions are your emotions, not mine. Next, we're going to list the worst possible outcome. Starting TikTok, it fails. I I can't get myself to do it, but I try. As well as how likely that is going to be to happen, because sometimes those worst possible scenarios are very unlikely, like you're going to get struck by lightning, or your parents are going to turn into axe murderers, or some other unlikely event, or winning the lottery. I don't know how that's a worst possible outcome, but if you imagine that to be your worst possible outcome, I don't think you need coaching. So once you've done that work, you've identified what the action is, what the emotions involved are, and what the worst possible case is. Sometimes that is enough to get you moving. Because oftentimes that worst case scenario, such as starting a TikTok channel, that's not really even something to worry about. And by naming it, you've caused your frontal cortex to take over from your limbic brain. You've lessened the impact of the emotions. They're still there. And you've created a way to put those things in alignment. But let's say you need to go further. Let's say you're still not convinced that you need to do this thing that's risky. Well, then you want to list out the reward. This is the best possible outcome. What is the absolute maximum potential of this activity? And how you're going to feel when it happens. I will feel elated if I go viral on TikTok. Actually, no, I probably would feel panic if I went viral on TikTok. That actually might be a worst possible outcome. I really just want a TikTok channel to represent my brand so that people can find me there. But and that's why this is a good activity, right? Because it also helps you set reasonable expectations for yourself. I don't want to go viral on TikTok, so I'm not going to try. I'm just going to be myself, just like I am here. By listing out the worst possible outcomes, the best possible outcomes, how likely those are going to be, and how you're going to feel when those happen, then you can start to measure some differences. But there's one critical step you have to do at this point if you've gone down this road, and that is to list the outcome of not doing that thing. That's different than the worst possible outcome, right? Because oftentimes that outcome's cost is regret. And regret is a terrible emotion to feel. So now you can start measuring the distance between those 2 points. How you feel from the regret standpoint or from your starting point if you don't do the thing to your risk. And if there's a measurable difference there, you're probably going to take that action. You probably don't need to do anything else. Then you're going to measure from the starting point all the way out to the reward. That's your possibility. That's what you could possibly accomplish. And finally, you can measure your window, and that is between the worst possible outcome and the best possible outcome. And that's somewhere in there is where you're going to set your expectations. Okay? So let's go back to the dishes, just as an example, because it's easy. My starting point is a filthy kitchen and food poisoning. If I don't do anything about the kitchen, those are going to be my results. Now, my risk, if I do the dishes, I have a clean kitchen, sure. I might feel some frustration and some exhaustion and a loss of time because it took too long, or because it was more work than I thought, or I had to scrub something, or maybe I broke a dish. How likely is that to happen? Well, pretty likely. Pretty likely if the kitchen is filthy. It's bad today because I was sick yesterday and I didn't do any dishes. So today I had to spend some time in the kitchen doing my dishes. So it's right in my head. But yeah, I can feel exhausted when I'm doing the dishes. But my reward, this would be the best possible outcome. The clean kitchen and that feeling that I told you appears when I recognize that clean kitchen and the hard work that I put into it. That satisfaction I know now is very likely to happen. And that's the best possible outcome. So, my net gain, I would have a clean kitchen either way. Why wouldn't I do it? And that defines my decision. So, does that stop the emotion? No. Absolutely does not stop the emotion. You're still going to feel that emotion and you're still going to have to power through it. Think about it as conquering stage fright. You know that if you want to go up and talk in front of an audience, for the vast majority of people, you feel frightened of talking to those people. But as you do it more and more and more, that fear becomes less and less and less. And eventually you'll find yourself able to take the stage with calm approach and speak clearly and concisely. You don't need to do this activity with every decision that you make. In fact, I don't recommend it because your brain will get tired of it. However, when you do, you can start to decide how you feel when you're done. and you can reinforce the behavior that you just engaged in by reveling in that feeling. So for me, when I do the dishes, that feeling of satisfaction of having a clean kitchen, it's important for me to, when I finished wiping off the counters with disinfectant, I might add, I love to look at the kitchen as a whole and recognize that I worked hard to get it to this state and that I feel satisfied. And that will become an instinct for you over time. And you'll find that as you finish the tasks that you need to do, but you maybe don't have the emotional desire to do, that emotion will start taking over and you'll get excited. Now, I don't get excited for the dishes, but I do get excited when I'm doing them and I know that I'm close to getting finished. So I really want to thank you so much for being here and being a part of my journey here on YouTube. I am wanting to grow this channel, and you can help out today by logging into YouTube, subscribing to the channel, liking this video in particular, and leaving a comment in the comments section about what inspired you the most about this video today, what you learned about yourself. And next week, we have a guest joining us, and she's going to be talking to us about the employee employer partnership model that she's creating, that she sees is the future of the workforce. And I can't wait to see you there. Until next time, my name is Daniel. This is brought to you by connerscoaching.com. It's CONNERS coaching, COACHING. I never had to spell that out loud before. .com. There is a link below in the description. I will see you next week. Bye.